Hello everyone and welcome in this new recording. We continue today with another version of the TerrainView application that I'm currently building with my Neural engine. So we will provide today a quick overview on the new feature that I am introducing on this version 7. As previously, you can just access this demonstration application with this URL. I'm going to write that in the video description, but you probably find that somewhere else. Yeah, well, the first thing that is changed is this control mode for the keyboard, because there were a few people that mentioned that okay, it would be better to have this QWERTY mode by default. So right now it's starting with a QWERTY, and I'm going to change that to AZERTY myself because yeah, you know, I'm French, so I'm using an AZERTY keyboard. Okay, you probably notice also is that planet itself is looking significantly different from the previous version. As a reminder, in version 6, this was a display that we got. This was really just, yeah, a basic level of noise generation, and you could still see a lot of noise artifact, I would say, because you see that those lines are perpendicular and you are basically describing a few square areas everywhere. So I was trying to break this pattern, and now I think it's looking much better. All right, and now I guess there's a lot of questions that could come and we need to cover. First thing is, yeah, we have support for ocean display now, as you have seen from space. Yeah, I updated the terrain rendering to allow for negative elevation in some sense. So everything that is negative then is going to be considered as ocean. So I'm using this shade of blue to display the ocean areas. We have a lot of different ocean and seas, but that's really, yeah, my personal taste. I like to have a lot of sea space and different islands and everything like that. So I could of course make the terrain much more uniform and provide large continental areas, but I didn't want to go this way. I prefer to have a lot of those small feature rich areas. What is also different now is that terrain is using significantly less noise. You still have somewhat realistic and somewhat noisy places, but it's less bumpy. I mean, it's making it more realistic, I think. Another thing that is different is on the control, the mouse control. So when you start turning the camera, the movement is now a lot smoother, so you can yeah, navigate around, and you won't get very fast transition when you move the mouse, and this was not really the case before. Maybe not that obvious in the unscripted version of the application, because the frame rate is capped to 60 frames per second, but when you're using the native version of the application and you got a lot of frames, the mouse movement were not smooth enough, so I have improved a bit on this point. Next thing I would like to mention is that we also now have this small button which you can use now to hide the control panel, which is convenient if you just want to navigate around and don't want to configure anything on the control panel itself. And speaking of the control panel, there's nothing really different here except for the exposure control, which is used to control the overall exposure of the scene. This is not going to make a very big difference, but still you can maybe just reduce or increase that. I usually don't really increase this value a lot, but yeah, I don't ever decrease it. So the default value is usually good enough, I think. Alright, and then I would like to focus on the beach areas, because I have also introduced a small effect here. So we are now applying some custom flattening effect on the elevation computation to get more realistic and more pleasant beaches areas. Here, for instance, it's not really the case. You can see that it's not really cliffs either, but you're getting into the sea space without any beach. But if we move a bit, you will see that here, for instance, the area is a bit flat. So, but yeah, probably not really a good example either. Where do I have those areas? Maybe this. But I'm sure I can find a more beach looking like area. So maybe here, for instance. So this part of the terrain is flattened a little bit, and there are some variation in this, so it's not going to be the same distance to the sea level before you get this flattening effect. Depending on where you are on Earth, it's not going to apply everywhere. So as we've seen just before, you can have some areas where we're still displaying cliffs going into the sea directly, but on other location you will get very flat space like that, and that looks like a good beach, I think. So I really wanted to introduce that. And also in the ocean part, you see that the ground is going very slowly into higher depth levels. So then you could get some cliffs like that going into the sea. Alright, and all this are for all the small details that were introduced in this version. The key thing, as you have probably noticed already, is that we now have the support for the atmosphere rendering. And I think this is working pretty nicely. You see that you have this kind of foggy effect in the distance, so you don't see very clearly. And you have the blue color of the sky. During day, you even have a small sun display here. It's probably not the best display. You could probably just add another texture or something, or a flare effect, but for now this sun point actually is computed with the atmosphere shader itself. It's not really an object. And if you play with the elevation of the sun, for instance, you will get what you expect for the different atmosphere colors and effects. So I think this is pretty cool. All this atmosphere display again is based on the Eric Brunnerton implementation. This was already implemented previously in Nerveland, but now I have been refactoring all this to ensure that it would be working in the unscripted version of the application. And also I spent some good time trying to really validate the computation that I was doing for the atmosphere and the texture pre-computation. But yeah, I'm probably going to discuss that in another recording because that's a bit complex and lengthy. Also, yes, you probably might have noticed the effect here. If you look around the sun, you have this display, but if I go a bit up, now you have a more shiny effect around it. That's because we are basically going under the sea level, and the computation logic is slightly different in this case. But the whole point, in fact, is that normally I would like to display the ocean surface at the sea level, so when you go under the sea, you're not going to interact with the atmosphere the same way anymore. So this will be probably the next step, in fact. Okay, I guess this is it. You can just play with this now and get different display, different location, and see how this will behave One small kind of issue that I would like to mention here is on the atmosphere display. If we go back to the default settings, for instance, let's try to put that to 0, please. Okay, and now if I go just down, you will see that the terrain is actually too bright. I mean, the whole scene sounds too bright to me. And I think this is because I'm basically missing the ambient occlusion computation here, and that would probably make a difference in the lighting computation in those cases. So that's something I will need to add shortly. Except that for the terrain itself, I'm not going to go with the actual ambient occlusion. I think I'm going to try to do something like ambient aperture lighting instead, if I can figure out how to compute all this in real time, which is not completely sure either, so we'll see. But anyway, as I said, the next step for me is first going to be to add ocean surface, so that should not be too hard either, because this was already implemented and I just need to ensure that everything is still working as expected. And yeah, after that, maybe I will be moving to this occlusion computation. In any case, this is it for this small demonstration. As usual, if you have any question on this, just let me know in the comments, and otherwise I'll see you next time when I get another update for this TerrainView demo application. So thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.